Hello!
Hi, Karen. We are going to make meatballs and polenta today. Creamy, cheesy polenta, just like we had when we camped. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to actually do this, but I blame Aaron. I've magically appeared on the other side of the camera. This is all that we're going to need for the meatball, so that's where we're going to start. The first thing you do, you take some breadcrumbs. I just ground up some white bread. This is a cup. You can also use pre-packaged breadcrumbs. You don't have to use fresh bread, but it was just easier. And we're going to Italy soon, and I didn't want the bread to go bad. So I'm just going to use my hands.
What was that?
That is, thanks, Aaron. That's 1/3 of a cup of whole milk. And you just want to get this all wet and soggy, and you want to let it sit for about 10 minutes. So while we're doing that, I'm going to grab a bowl.
Oh, here's our dog. No, where'd he go? Oh, hello. There he is. Hi, Hex.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So now I've got 80-20 ground beef, which you can get at any butcher shop, any grocery store, and 80-20 ground pork. I'm using 3/4 of a pound of ground beef, I think. Yeah, let's just call it 3/4 of a pound. And 1/4 of a pound of ground pork, and that just cuts the flavor a little bit, and they're equally fatty, so they'll be nice and moist and delicious. Starting with the ground beef, you're just going to want to break it up into little pieces. You're going to do the same thing with the pork, and that way you don't have a meatball that's, you know, all beef or all pork. You kind of have them all mixed together. We're going to do that with all the ingredients so that everything's nice and mixed in, and you have nice, consistent meatballs. All right. Okay. Getting down to the nitty gritty here with the beef. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing with the pork. Some people also add veal, and some recipes call for like equal parts veal, beef, and pork. I can never find veal, so I don't bother. And then some recipes will call then for even pork, even beef, equal parts, but that seems a little too porky for me. I've tried it, and this is kind of a nice ratio. Now we got the beef and the pork in here. Aaron, you want to get a shot of the bowl? In the bowl, we're going to put in 1 cup of Parmesan cheese, about 1/3 a cup of finely minced parsley, about 1 tablespoon of salt. Call that a tablespoon, maybe a strong tablespoon, because I like salt. I don't know. Did I say tablespoon? I meant a teaspoon of salt. Check that. Teaspoon of salt, not a tablespoon. About 1/4 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. This is the moneymaker. This is what won me the meatball championship. This is a 1/2 teaspoon of ground fennel seed. You don't have to put it in there, but you don't have to win meatball championships either. Okay. We're going to pretend that the bread has been soaking for 10 minutes now. I think it's pretty good, honestly.
How much bread is in there?
I'm getting to that, Aaron. Actually, I already got to that, Aaron. If you go back to the beginning of the video, you'll remember that it's 1 cup of breadcrumbs, 1/3 of a cup of whole milk, and it's been sitting for about 10 minutes. We're also going to put one large, lightly beaten egg. Just get that in there. And then 2 largish cloves of garlic that went through a garlic press. You can also mince it if you don't have a garlic press at your disposal. And then the bread. So with the bread, you don't want to just dump this all in. What you want to do is take a little at a time and try to squeeze out the milk. And you're going to save that milk for another purpose in just a second. You'll see. This is a very handsy project. Okay, and then just kind of do the same thing with the bread that you did with the ground meat. So again, you don't get big clumps of bread, but instead it's nice and consistently distributed, uniformly distributed throughout your meatballs. Alrighty. And you'll find that if you take too much bread and try to squeeze it out, that milk will go everywhere. So it'll kind of force you to only take up about a tablespoon at a time or so. I also tend to use less eggs than recipes or other people might use, because eggs is just used for a binding agent, really. It keeps the meatballs together, but if you use a lot of eggs, you get really dense meatballs, and I like my meatballs to float like clouds. Ask Erin, she lost to me in the meatball championship. So
It was rigged.
yeah, it was rigged. For the Indian against the Italian, it was rigged. So now you want to mix all the stuff together. You don't want to spend a lot of time mixing, because overworking this, again, you'll get like dense like meatloaf balls instead of like nice fluffy meatballs that kind of fall apart and stay tender. So just mix it all together. Make sure everything is nice and incorporated. Okay, that looks pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, now this is gonna go straight into the fridge. And you want it just to chill for like anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. I've never let it chill for an hour because usually when I'm starting to make meatballs, I'm ready to make meatballs. So we'll leave it in here for 15 minutes. In the meantime, Erin's got to keep packing for Italy. We'll come back and then we'll make the meatballs, we'll bake the meatballs, and we'll start on the polenta.